My name is Bob Rose, and I'm the consigner of this game-used Duke Snider bat. I grew up as a huge Duke Snider fan and was elated when the Colt 45s came into being and were in the National League, and I would be able to go out to Colt Stadium and see Duke play. So the first series that they were in town, my dad and I got out there real early to see Duke in batting practice. And very few people were there, and we're walking around the stadium and ran into my Pony League baseball coach. And his name was Ross Rommel. And Mr. Rommel said, "Isn't Duke your hero?" I said, "You bet, that's why we're here." He said, "If I can swing it, would you like to meet Duke?" And I frankly don't even remember how I responded to that. So he takes us behind home plate in the mezzanine aisle and said, "Just wait here." So Mr. Rommel walks down to the screen behind home plate. Turns out he was friends with Paul Richards, the Colt 45's general manager. And he got Mr. Richards' attention, and they talked by the screen for a couple minutes. And Mr. Richards goes to the batting cage. And Duke finally comes out and takes his swings. And as he's leaving the cage, Paul Richards pulled him aside, and they started walking towards me. And at that point, it was all a blur that Duke Snider was coming to talk. So he has his bat with him, and I told him what a big fan I was. I was so nervous. And he says, "Would you like my bat?" And again, I'm not sure how I said it, but other than sure. And he told me the day before, it was a day game, the last game of the series, wherever it was they were playing, and the catcher had the umpire check his bat, and they threw it out of the game. And he said, I was going to use this as my batting practice bat, but I'd like for you to have it. So that whole night was a blur. So in 1994, I see a notice that Duke is going to be at a card show in Austin, Texas. So my son, who was 14 at the time, and I drive to Austin early that Saturday morning, and I take my bat. And I finally get to the head of the line, and the fellow sitting next to Duke slides the bat over to him, and he looks at it, and he looks up at me and says, "Where did you get this?" And I said, "You gave it to me in 1962. And he's looking at it, and he shows the fellow sitting next to him the nails that he had covered with pine tar. And he said, "I had to use nails from a cigar box because they were real small and wouldn't crack the wood." And I got caught. So I hate to part with this, but I've had it for a long time, and maybe it's time for someone else to enjoy it. I know there are a lot of Duke fans out there. And memory lane is the only place I would have let touch this bat besides me.